why does the engine say toot toot? Is it fair to go in the tunnel? But why is the furnace no put out when the rain guns down the funnel? What'll I have for my tea in it? A herring? Or maybe a haddie? Has Grandma got an electric lift? Is the next stop Kirkcaldy? There's a hoodie crawling you on turnip raw, and seagulls, 6 or 7. I'll not fall out of the windy maw. It's snaky, sure as I'm leaving. We're into the tunnel, we're all in the dark, but dinna be fricked it, Daddy. For I ken myself with the queer like smell. That the next stop's Kirkcaldy.
The queer-like smell of Kirkcaldy symbolises the production of linoleum making in this town. But what is it about this process which causes the smell? Let us compare the production processes in 1950 and 1990.
A series of materials in precisely measured amounts will be added to the spongy cement. These materials are cork, wood flour, mineral fillers and pure colour pigments.
The main ingredient, linseed oil, gives linoleum its name, from the Latin lineoleum, meaning oil from the flax plant. Rosin and tall oil come from pine trees. Wood flour comes from managed softwood plantations in northern Europe. Cork is taken from the bark of the cork oak. The ingredients also include chalk, clay and colour pigments.
Linoleum is made from a cement based on oxidized linseed oil. This is made by exposing raw linseed oil to hot air by flooding cotton scrim with the oil.
The linseed oil is mixed with rosin and tall oil in what we call a smacker. This is rather like a giant food mixer, which slowly agitates the ingredients for over 30 hours. During the mixing, conditions are very carefully monitored and controlled by this computer. When the smacker is emptied, the resulting material is called linoleum cement.
So great has been the speed of technological advance within this modern industry that a one-process method of making high-quality cement has been evolved to increase output and yet at the same time to reduce dramatically the production time. Under electronic control, a charge of linseed oil and rosin, together with other constituents, is treated under high temperature until the mixture becomes cement. It's then discharged and it has the typical appearance, handle and texture of the traditional material. This rich-coloured, spongy mess can be used directly for all types of linoleum. Let us now see, in small scale, the production of a trial batch of linoleum. A series of materials in precisely measured amounts will be added to the spongy cement. After weighing, they'll be passed through the rolls of a miniature calendar. The cement is calendared first, the additional materials being added to it once it has spread round the rolls. Almost immediately, raw linoleum will emerge.
The final production processes involve cutting the raw linoleum into short lengths, which are overlapped to form a continuous sheet of linoleum. To give this linoleum more strength, it is then given a backing of hessian. The maturing process takes place in giant stoves over a period of 3 weeks. The matured linoleum is then taken out of the stoves and covered with a coating of lacquer. Finished linoleum is then trimmed and wrapped to order. But what is it during this process which causes a queer-like smell?
Well, the queer-like smell, it's only a week of cement, the manufacture of cement. It's only linseed oil, tip oil and rosin all getting mixed together for the make of cement. It's the cement you sell. You smell no linoleum.
So surprisingly, it is the cement which produces the queer-like smell, not as we had thought, the linoleum.
Now the blade comes clean through the island soil.
enter into the business of linoleum?
Well, I just needed a job when I come out of the army.
And when did you come into
And
linoleum?
that was in 1949. I started as a labourer. When at that time I started as a scrap machine. I went down there, broke up all the old scrap, and it was reused into the linoleum trade again. See? And I was 2 years on that. Then I got shifted off of the scrap machine onto the hoist. There were 3 men operated the hoist at that time, did all the odd jobs and kept the place going. At that time it was horse and cart, everything in. And everything was manhandled, did the manhandle. Anything that came in, the manhandle. No way today. It's on boards now. And what happened yesterday.
Do you feel a big difference with the new technology rather than the old technology?
No, the jobs is all easier. As I say, you had to work at that time, you didn't have to work now. It's all push button. Must push button. There's no many dirty jobs now, there's no many jobs that you're hard worked at. You maybe steady in some jobs, but you do hard work.
Yeah. What the transport industry bring a lot of change to business as well, with easier transport for your goods and that. Did that change the company?
Yeah, the time when I started, most of your stuff came in for the harbour, came in the sea. And after we got mechanised with transport, it was coming the road, you know. But most of it all came by sea into the Kirkcaldy harbour at that time. Your cut came into the harbour, your whitening, the wood flour all came into the harbour.
How does it come in now?
It's all come to the road, real, it's containers.
Do you think it's much easier that way?
Well, it's easier handled now because at that time your cut was all loose cut was all baled, and you had to break it down yourself to what you wanted to use, the gauge into your linoleum. Where now it all comes in bagged, ready to go in the hole.
So you don't need to break it down. So what part of the company did you start in when you first came here?
I started in the linoleum side, the plain linoleum side.
And what did that involve?
And that was the manufacture of plain linoleums, browns, greens, reds, just plain, you know, no marble, nothing to do with marble, it was all plain linoleum.
And what was your job in the process of making that?
Well, as I say, the scrap machine was my first job. I went into it, and then I went to the hoist, and we kept the whole system going with scrap, whitening, whatever it may be. You wait to supply the men that was on the machines at that time to keep them all going, you know. And it was mainly keeping the plant going.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Well, I didn't enjoy it. It had to be done, you had to make the best of it.
Was that a hard job to do?
Well, at that time it was a hard job because, as I say, everything was man-handled. And at that time, starting from the top flat where the men used colours and whitening and everything, you know, the colours to take up to the board. Oh, it was all bags, one bags, you know, and you had to weigh up yourself. And your whitening came in bags, but you had to maybe tip 30, 40 bags into a big box and take the box up the stair, hurl up the stair, let it go hurl. You dropped off to him and that didn't him already. But that's what you had to do. It was the kind of things you had to do at that time. Everything had to be done by hand.
And do you approve of the new technology, or you wish it was back to the old?
Oh, yeah, I approved a lot there. A lot of it. There is wee things that's you've got to come upon them and say, oh, that's, you know. No, yes, we're the old-fashioned maybe. There is a lot of good things now. I mean, it's not the case of going there and pushing a button and you start a plant up.
Yeah.
No, at that time, everything was separate motors. Everything was separate motors at that time.
What's your job nowadays?
Now, Well, as I say, I was a calendar for 33 years. And I came off it because they built a new undercoat plant in there, and actually needed somebody to look after it, so I volunteered. So that's why I came off a calendar and I take this job out. And as I say, it's only pushing buttons.
So it's very much different.
It's an easier job. Oh, it's a terrible difference to me. My job is easy, no problem with my job.
We were told in our last visit that it was noticed that a lot of people who worked with linoleum, they didn't seem to get many colds. Is that, have you heard of that one? No? It's just something to do with the
I got my share of the colds, so I can't say that.
Maybe it was before, the old, when you were inhaling and stuff.
To me, you used to get your share of the cold because you're rooting in the heat.
Could you try and describe the quay-like smell to us? Can remember
well, the quay-like smell, it's only a week of cement, the manufacture of cement. It's only linseed oil, tip oil and resin all getting mixed together for to make this cement. It's a cement you sell. You smell no linoleum. You hate to get a bit, so it's no cement like such, it's soft stuff.
Is it like to set the colours? Is that what it is?
It's for to set all your pigments goes into it, and that's what binds it. Binds it all together. That's what it's made of, linseed oil and
What kind of differences then?
Well, it's a weird place. And there's an awful lot of spaces around about it, and derelict buildings. It shouldn't be there. But when I started, you see by that photo, that started for the harbour, St Mary's Canvas Works. That was Nairn for the harbour, and it went right up the harbour, and it went right out to the back of Smee, before the built Smee. That was all the entrances.
When do you think the decline started? Because it certainly did decline, didn't it?
Nairn did. That's what Nairn said itself. And that was probably the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
60s. Early 60s, I would say.
And why did that come about?
Well, that's when your carpets all come into being. And everybody was having to go at the carpets, but neither realised that the carpets are not the same as linoleum.
You got linoleum in your house? You have?
Yes. No.
You see, we asked Mr. Strugnall the same question, so...
Could you just give us a brief detail of the making of linoleum from start to finish, if you can?
I better show you. Well, your ingredients is your colours. Wood fur, whitening, chlorite, and cork. That's your main ingredients, whitening and cement. That's your ingredients. Well,
Whitening.
Whitening. Whitening is just... How can I describe it? It's only chalk, put it that way. Only chalk. It's chalk, refined. That's all right, just grind. Chalk. And it's no for any purpose, only for weight. They'll maybe tell you different, but that's what it is, it's only for weight. It's heavy. And that is dropped in the hopper. The colour man drops it in the hopper, goes into what they call a banbury, goes through a process for maybe 3 minutes in a banbury, getting mixed.
Is it just a giant mixer, a banbury?
Well, it's the same, a big screw in it, But it's only a mixer, and when it comes out, it goes into what we call now is kit place. But in my time it wasn't, it was a bucket. Which is 3.5 feet by 3 feet deep. And it goes into there. And it's all bound together with this time. It's all sticking together. It's not just put in it. And it goes for there. It goes right up the bed. couldn't have fetched it then. That's it, then easy. There's five, 6 flats up it goes. It goes up 6 flats. And it drops, no, it goes up 5 flats, sorry. And it drops into a 6th row, 6-row machine. And the 6-row machine is a set of 2 or 6 rows. And the gauge on the rows is all different. Say roughly 1.2 at the top row, 1 millimetre at the middle row, and maybe 0.9 at the bottom row. So it breaks all the stuff up as it comes through, you see. It goes through these rows. But they've got a different process new, I'm not going to tell you that one. It left that, and it goes down in there 2-row and scratcher. 2-row scratch. Went through the 2-row, and the scratcher is on a round drum with thousands of wee pins. And these pins scratches this colour as it comes through and breaks it up into fine. And it comes down and it gets blown for there right back up to the top of the building into a big silo. And then goes through the silo onto what we call steel bands. It's a band that reaches 20 feet, something like that, 25 feet long, 3 feet wide. It goes into there, and it's taken from there. The batches is made up. You've got 3 bands. You've got 3 different colours on them. So you get the weights of your batches of what you're needing of each material, and it's drawn off for these bands into a weigh bin. And it goes down through the weigh bin and onto what we call a 5-foot band, which is another wide band. It's maybe 30 feet long. And that's a storage band. The calendar draws that stuff off. And just as they want it, and it goes down in the calendar. Made into sheets. It goes through a pre-marble calendar, and they make sheets. Well, 2 rollers. There's a roll now. Goes into a band, runs along, and there's 4 women standing at the end. There's 2 women here and 2 at that end, and the sheets comes along here. They just pick them up, put them onto this other band, and they're all laid a certain distance apart. So I think it's about 5, maybe 6 inches. I can't mind. 6 inches apart, and it goes down into the main calendar. So there's another 2 rows. Goes through there and goes through a hot roll and a cold roll. That's what they're hot and cold. And goes through them, and it leaves these 2 rows. It goes down, and it meets up with a canvas. This is just the bare sheet coming down itself, and it meets up with a canvas coming through below, and this canvas is on what we call undercoat on the top with. It's all made with scrap, 90% made with scrap, and it goes down, and the other sheet comes down on the top of it, and it goes through a big press machine, and from there up into a stove, and it goes into the stove for I don't know how long now, maybe 10 days or something. I don't know. It's eye changing.
How long does that whole process take? About?
Well, it doesn't take long. Once you've got your colour and everything made up. It's only the case of the man starts to draw off the bands, and it just goes right down through the process, right down the system, onto the 5-foot band, and you just draw off as far as you want to draw off, as far as the calendar will let you go. The material will let you go.
Seems to be
you could maybe we deal with that, but I don't know what you say much for the day. But you could maybe do 5 batches and half, 5 or 6 batches and half, innit? And that would give you maybe 10 to 12 piece of material.
And that's just in a batch.
There's the batches now, I think they're about 500 and some pounds. Well, it's pretty good that day when you go there and kill them. But now I'll operate with about £1 pound.
It seems to have been quite a long process, and maybe a lot of people at one time employed in it. What would you say is the difference between then and now?
Oh, it's only a skeleton crew now compared to what it used to be.
Like,
I mean,
say 1949, what we're talking about.
Well, the old system I started on at that time, I'd say maybe 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 4, 17, maybe 17 on this one squad. And there's only 3, 5, 6, 7. There's only 9 on it now. That's the difference.
So just about half they need, and they're probably putting through more.
Well, that's the old system's not putting through it anymore because their calendar's governed. So you can only go to a limit 32 feet a minute or something, you know. But the marble calendar, it could run away there, it's running the new at 24, 26 metres a minute. But it's only, say 5 years ago, that the pre-marble calendar, the marble calendar was running at 14. That was its top speed, 14 to 15. That was its top speed. Neither doubled that then. You know.
Would you like to
Thanks for
your
help. Yeah.
No.
Right,
It's a lot easier to go in there and show you what you're doing as to sit here and do it, you know.
That's right. Yep.
That was the part. That's it, it comes along here and do. That was it going down there.
So it's the place.
You got up there, that's where you got the pen.
Winter in Ontario, the wheels that turn this village kids still carry through the heat. Now they no longer turn for you. Still hold your mother, you bless the air with the tears of the immigrant, tongue of the gale, the blink of sun.